The morning sky over New York turned purple as massive crystalline ships emerged from hyperspace. They appeared first over major cities worldwide: Tokyo, London, Beijing, Mumbai, and dozens more. Each ship sparkled like a diamond in the sunlight, stretching nearly 3 miles in length. Sarah Chen, newly appointed head of the United Nations Space Command, stood at her office window, watching the alien fleet with stern eyes. For decades, humanity had prepared for this moment. Every science fiction movie, every war game, every military simulation had built toward this day. They were ready. "Madam, we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship," her assistant reported, tablet in hand. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, in all languages." Sarah nodded, her face showing no surprise. Of course they were. Any civilization advanced enough for interstellar travel would have mastered basic communication. She walked to the central command room, where hundreds of officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by blue computer screens. The alien message played across the main screen. "People of Earth, we are the Drachnid Empire, rulers of 10,000 worlds. Your planet has been chosen for incorporation into our glorious empire. Surrender now, and you will serve as productive members of our society. Resist, and face extinction. You have 6 Earth hours to respond." The message came with images, holographic displays of their military might, scenes of other worlds that had fallen to their power, and the devastating weapons at their disposal. It was meant to frighten humanity into submission. Instead, laughter echoed through the command center. They actually used the "resistance is futile" line. Someone whispered, "Classic." Sarah pressed a button on her console, connecting her to all military commands worldwide. "Initiative Watchdog is now active. All units to designated positions. This is not a drill." Across the globe, hidden bunkers opened. Underground hangars that hadn't seen daylight in decades activated their systems. Satellites that appeared to be simple communication relays transformed, revealing weapon systems that humanity had been secretly launching for years. The Drachnid Empire's scans showed a primitive civilization, exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Every primitive satellite held hidden technology. Every communication tower contained weapons designed specifically for this moment. Even the nuclear missiles in their silos weren't what they appeared to be. Commander Zextal, leader of the Drachnid fleet, watched Earth from his crystalline throne. His translucent skin glowed with bioluminescent patterns, a sign of amusement among his species. This would be his easiest conquest yet. These humans hadn't even colonized their own solar system. They still used fossil fuels. They were divided into nations instead of united under a single rule. "Commander," his subordinate reported, "we're receiving their response." The human message was simple, transmitted in clear Drachnid language. "Come and take it." Zextal's skin patterns shifted to show confusion. This wasn't the fear he expected. No species had ever responded to the Drachnid ultimatum with such confidence. "Arrogant primitives," he growled, his crystalline teeth glinting. "Prepare the first wave. Standard conquest protocol." As his ships moved into attack formation, Zextal failed to notice something crucial. He didn't see how every human military base had gone quiet simultaneously. He didn't detect the energy buildups in those primitive satellites. And most importantly, he didn't realize that humanity had spent centuries imagining this exact scenario. The humans weren't just ready for an alien invasion. They had been rehearsing for it their entire existence. The real question wasn't whether Earth would survive. The question was, would the Drachnid Empire? Commander Zextal gave the order to attack, and 1,000 Drachnid ships moved forward. Their crystalline vessels sparkled in the sunlight as they entered Earth's atmosphere. According to their battle computers, this would be a 15-minute operation. They were wrong. The first sign that something was different came when their frontline ships hit what seemed like an invisible wall. Hundreds of supposedly dead satellites suddenly activated, creating an energy grid that trapped the alien vessels. Impossible. Zextal's skin flashed angry red patterns. Their technology isn't advanced enough for this. In the United Nations Space Command Center, Sarah Chen watched the grid activate with a small smile. "All defense platforms, you are clear to engage," she ordered. "Show them what humanity has been hiding." Those primitive satellites opened like flowers, revealing weapons that the Drachnids had never seen before. Each one was different. Some fired electromagnetic pulses, others launched special missiles, and some shot beams that turned the crystalline ships brittle. A young lieutenant looked up from his screen. "Ma'am, the modified nuclear devices are ready." These weren't ordinary nuclear weapons. For 50 years, scientists had been secretly adapting them for space combat, adding special materials that would affect crystalline structures. Now, they launched from hidden silos worldwide. The Drachnid ships tried to shoot them down, but the nukes dodged like they were alive. When they exploded, they didn't create ordinary nuclear blasts. Instead, they released waves of energy that made the crystal ships crack and shatter. In his command ship, Zextal watched in horror as 15% of his fleet turned into space debris in just 1 hour. How? They're supposed to be primitive. Their technology shouldn't work like this. His science officer, hands shaking, brought up new scans. "Sir, we were wrong. Those aren't primitive weapons. They're advanced technology disguised to look primitive. They knew we were coming. They'd been preparing for years." On Earth, different military bases coordinated their attacks. Japanese defense platforms fired sonic weapons that made crystal ships vibrate until they broke. Indian satellites released special clouds that stuck to enemy vessels and slowly ate through their hulls. Brazilian stations launched electromagnetic pulses that confused the aliens' navigation systems. Sarah Chen walked through the command center, watching the battle unfold on multiple screens. "Phase 2, she ordered. "Launch our ships." Hidden hangars across Earth opened, revealing vessels that looked nothing like the primitive rockets the aliens had seen before. These ships were built using technology reversed engineered from studying alien signals and preparing for this exact moment. The Drachnids had expected to fight a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had spent generations preparing for this exact battle. Every science fiction movie, every space battle game, every alien invasion story had given humanity ideas. They had thought of every possible way aliens might attack and had prepared countermeasures for each one. "Full retreat," Zextal ordered as another wave of his ships shattered. "Back to the outer solar system. We need to regroup." But as his remaining ships tried to flee, they discovered another surprise. The humans had hidden defense platforms throughout their solar system, disguising them as space debris and small asteroids. There was no easy escape. In the command center, Sarah Chen received reports of Drachnid ships falling back in chaos. "Send the message," she ordered. Every surviving Drachnid ship received the same transmission. "This was just our first line of defense. Would you like to see what else humanity has prepared for you?" For the first time in its 10,000-year history, the Drachnid Empire faced a terrifying question. What else were these humans hiding? After losing many ships in space, Commander Zextal made a desperate decision. "If we can't win in space, we'll take their cities on the ground." He roared, his skin flashing with angry patterns. "Launch all ground troops." Thousands of Drachnid transport ships broke through Earth's weakened defenses. They landed near major cities: New York, Tokyo, London, Mumbai, and others. The aliens expected to find panicking humans running away. Instead, they found empty streets. In an underground bunker beneath New York, Colonel James Martinez smiled as he watched the alien troops on his screens. "Just like we practiced," he told his soldiers. "Operation Ant Farm is now active." The Drachnids marched their crystal-armored troops through the streets, weapons ready. But New York wasn't the same city it had been yesterday. Every skyscraper had transformed. Every subway tunnel held surprises. Even the streetlights weren't what they seemed. "Sir, the humans are gone." A Drachnid sergeant reported to his commander, "The city is empty." Before he could finish, the street beneath his feet suddenly turned soft like quicksand. Special chemicals, hidden in the road for years, activated on command. Entire squads of alien soldiers sank into the trap. In Tokyo, the Drachnids discovered that the city's famous electronic billboards weren't just for advertisements. When activated, they released pulses that interfered with their crystal armor systems. In London, the underground tunnels became a maze that trapped alien units. Mumbai's streets turned into electrical grids that short-circuited their weapons. "They're in every wall." A Drachnid soldier screamed over the radio. "The humans, they're inside the buildings." He was right. Humanity had built hidden passages throughout their cities. Soldiers moved through secret tunnels, appearing to attack and then vanishing. Every window could hide a sniper. Every doorway might conceal a trap. But the biggest surprise came when the Drachnids discovered what humans had done with their technology. Soldiers wore armor made from studied alien materials. Their weapons fired energy pulses that could crack crystal. Some even carried sound guns that could shatter Drachnid equipment. In his command ship, Zextal received desperate messages from his ground forces. "The humans," one commander reported, "they're not fighting like primitives. They know all our weaknesses. They've turned their whole cities into weapons." Sarah Chen, watching from the UN Command Center, nodded in satisfaction. "Send in the combat robots," she ordered. The Drachnids watched in shock as machines emerged from hidden bunkers. These weren't the simple robots they'd seen in their scans. These were advanced war machines, built using secrets learned from years of studying alien signals and technology. Impossible. Zextal's skin went pale. "Their robots are using our own technology against us. How did they learn our secrets?" The answer was simple. Humanity had been intercepting alien signals for decades. Every transmission, every piece of data that passed near Earth had been collected and studied. While the Drachnids thought they were observing a primitive species, humans were learning all their weaknesses. By the end of the first day of ground combat, the Drachnid forces had lost control of every city they tried to take. Their superior technology meant nothing against an enemy that had spent years preparing the battlefield. In New York, Colonel Martinez watched the aliens retreat in chaos. "Should we pursue?" his lieutenant asked. Martinez shook his head. "No need. Let them run. Let them tell their leaders what they found here." He looked at the city's transformed buildings and hidden defenses. "Let them learn that on Earth, we don't just defend our cities. We turn them into fortresses." The Drachnid Empire was learning a hard lesson. Never invade a species that has spent its entire history imagining how to fight aliens. Commander Zextal sat in his crystal throne, watching recordings from the failed ground invasion. His skin had turned a pale blue, the color of confusion among his species. "I don't understand," he said to his advisors. "How are they defeating our superior technology?" An alien scientist stepped forward, holding a data tablet. "Sir, we've discovered something strange about human culture. They have thousands of stories about alien invasions." "Stories?" Zextal's skin flickered. "What do you mean?" The scientist played videos from Earth's entertainment archives. Movies showing aliens attacking Earth. Books describing space battles. Games where players defended Earth from invaders. Even children's cartoons about fighting aliens. For over 100 years, the scientist explained, humans have been imagining how to fight aliens. Every possible way we could attack, they've already thought about it. They've been preparing for us before they even knew we existed. In the UN Command Center, Sarah Chen met with her top scientists. Dr. Emily Rodriguez, head of Alien Technology Research, spread out her findings on a large table. "Look at this," Dr. Rodriguez pointed to a captured Drachnid weapon. "Their entire technology is based on crystal structures. We discovered this 20 years ago when we intercepted their signals. That's why all our preparations focused on ways to crack crystal." Another scientist, Dr. Wong, pulled up data on his computer. "Their ships, their weapons, even their armor. Everything uses the same crystal technology. They never thought anyone would discover their weakness, because no other species they conquered had prepared for them. Sarah smiled. And we've been preparing for everything. In space, more Drachnid ships arrived through hyperspace. But now they found something new. Human ships waiting for them. These weren't the hidden defense platforms or disguised satellites. These were real warships, built in secret underground factories. Impossible. A Drachnid captain exclaimed. Their ships are using our crystal technology. But they've modified it, made it better. He was right. Humanity hadn't just copied alien technology. They'd improved it. Where Drachnid ships were pure crystal, human ships combined crystal with steel and advanced alloys. They had taken the aliens' greatest strength and turned it into something new. In his throne room, Zextal received more disturbing news. His spies discovered vast underground cities beneath Earth's surface, huge factories hidden in mountains, training centers where soldiers had practiced fighting aliens for decades. How did they build all this without us noticing? He demanded. The answer came from another analyst. Sir, remember all those human movies about hiding from alien scans? They weren't just stories. They were plans. The humans used ideas from their own fiction to deceive our scanners. On Earth, Sarah Chen led a group of world leaders through one of these underground facilities. They passed rows of advanced weapons, each designed to exploit different alien weaknesses. Every time we intercepted their signals, she explained, we learned more. Every piece of their technology we studied gave us new ideas. But our greatest weapon wasn't technology, it was imagination. She showed them a library filled with science fiction books, movies, and games. While they thought we were primitive, we were thinking of every possible way they might attack, and we built defenses for each one. In space, Zextal watched another wave of his ships fall to human defenses. His skin turned dark gray, the color of fear. They're not just fighting us, he realized. They've been fighting us in their minds for generations. Every story, every movie, every game, it was all preparation. The Drachnid Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had judged humanity by their technology, never realizing that imagination could be the deadliest weapon of all. Dr. Emily Rodriguez hadn't slept in 3 days. She stood in her laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, staring at a piece of broken Drachnid crystal under a microscope. Something was there, a pattern she'd almost figured out. Dr. Rodriguez, her assistant, called out, "You need to see this." On a nearby screen, they watched a video of a Drachnid ship breaking apart. But this wasn't from weapons fire. The ship had flown too close to a rock concert in London that was still happening despite the invasion. "Play that again," Emily said, her eyes widening, "and show me the sound waves from that concert." In his command ship, Zextal was planning another attack when an urgent message came through. "Sir, the humans, they're broadcasting some kind of noise worldwide." Before Zextal could respond, a high-pitched sound filled every Drachnid ship. Crystal walls started vibrating. Screens cracked. Weapons systems failed. "Turn it off," Zextal screamed, watching his own throne develop tiny cracks. "Block that signal." But they couldn't. The sound was coming from everywhere, from Earth's satellites, from hidden speakers in cities, even from captured Drachnid equipment the humans had reprogrammed. In the UN command center, Sarah Chen watched data streams flow across her screens. "Dr. Rodriguez," she spoke into her phone, "your sound weapon is working. Every Drachnid ship in the solar system is being affected." Emily nodded, looking at her computer models. "Their entire technology is based on crystal structures," she explained. "And every crystal has a resonant frequency, a sound that makes it vibrate. We found their exact frequency." Across Earth, hidden sound transmitters activated. They had been disguised as cell towers, radio stations, and satellite dishes. Now they all broadcast the same frequency, the exact sound that could shatter Drachnid crystal technology. In space, Drachnid ships started breaking apart. Their crystal hulls cracked like glass. Weapons stopped working. Communication systems failed. Even their armor began to splinter. This is impossible. Zextal watched his mighty fleet falling apart. How did they discover our weakness so quickly? The answer came from his science officer, who had been studying human databases. Sir, they have stories, hundreds of them, about finding alien weaknesses, War of the Worlds, aliens defeated by bacteria, Independence Day, aliens defeated by computer viruses, signs, aliens defeated by water. They'd spent centuries imagining ways to beat superior enemies. On Earth, humanity's hidden forces emerged. Ships rose from underground hangars, protected against the sound weapon. Soldiers wearing special armor moved out of bunkers. In every city, people came out of shelters to watch Drachnid ships falling from the sky. Sarah Chen received reports from around the world. Moscow, clear of enemy forces. Beijing, aliens retreating. London, no more Drachnid ships. New York, skies empty. Dr. Rodriguez looked at her screen showing Drachnid ships shattering everywhere. We didn't just find their weakness, she said quietly. We found all of them. Their crystal technology, their predictable tactics, their pride in their superiority. In his failing ship, Zextal gave his final order. Full retreat. All ships leave the solar system. But it was too late. The sound waves had spread too far. Ship after ship broke apart, their crystals shattering into space dust. Sarah Chen watched the Drachnid fleet's destruction from her command center window. Send the message, she ordered. Every surviving Drachnid ship received the same transmission. Your crystal technology is useless now, but we're willing to talk peace if you're ready to treat us as equals. The mighty Drachnid Empire had learned its lesson. They hadn't just underestimated humanity's technology. They had underestimated the power of human creativity and determination. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth's new flagship, the ESS Defender. The ship combined human engineering with modified Drachnid crystal technology, but protected against sound weapons. Through the main window, she watched Earth grow smaller as they prepared for humanity's first faster-than-light jump. All ships report ready, Admiral Chen, her captain announced. The United Earth Fleet had grown quickly, using captured and rebuilt Drachnid ships alongside their own new vessels. Send the message to all ships, Sarah ordered. Operation Payback begins now. 500 ships jumped into hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system for the first time in human history. But they weren't exploring. They were hunting. In a distant star system, a Drachnid supply base received an alert about approaching ships. Probably our relief fleet, the base commander said. He was wrong. Human ships appeared suddenly, their weapons already firing. The base's crystal defenses chattered under targeted sound waves. Before they could send a warning message, the base went dark. First target down, Sarah reported back to Earth, moving to the next one. The human fleet split into smaller groups, each attacking different Drachnid bases and supply lines. They used everything they had learned about crystal technology. Every weakness, every flaw in Drachnid systems became a weapon. On his homeworld, Zextal received frightening reports. The humans, they're everywhere. They've figured out our hyperspace routes. They're attacking our supply lines. Our communications are being cut off. His advisor's skin had turned pale white with fear. Sir, they're not just attacking. They're freeing the worlds we conquered. And the freed planets are joining them. It was true. On every planet they liberated, the humans offered the same deal. Freedom from the Drachnid Empire in exchange for alliance with Earth. Many accepted immediately. How are they doing this? Zextal demanded. They barely learned about space travel. The answer came from watching human ships in action. They didn't fight like a spacefaring civilization should. Their tactics came from their naval history, from video games, from science fiction battles. They were unpredictable because they used strategies no space civilization had ever imagined. Sarah Chen's fleet approached another Drachnid stronghold. This time, they tried something new. Instead of attacking directly, they used modified crystal technology to make their ships look like Drachnid vessels. "Sir," a Drachnid guard called out, "our relief fleet is here early." Those were his last words before sound weapons shattered every crystal structure in the base. Back on their homeworld, Zextal watched his empire falling apart. "They're not just beating us," he realized. "They're taking everything we built. Our technology, our trading routes, our conquered worlds. They're turning our own empire against us." The humans had learned more than just how to break crystal technology. They had studied Drachnid battle tactics, communication codes, and trade routes. Everything the Drachnids thought was secret was now a weapon in human hands. On the Defender's Bridge, Sarah received news of another successful attack. 20 more worlds freed, her communications officer reported. 15 had already agreed to join the Earth Alliance. Sarah looked at the star map showing their progress. Human ships were cutting through Drachnid space like a knife, freeing planets and gathering allies. The empire that had taken thousands of years to build was falling apart in weeks. "Send the message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them to prepare for the final phase. It's time to take the fight to their homeworld." The Drachnid Empire had started this war thinking they were invading a primitive world. Now they'd faced a nightmare. Those primitives had not only learned to fight back, they had learned to win. The Drachnid homeworld's purple sky filled with ships. Not just human vessels, but ships from every world their empire had once enslaved. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the Defender's Bridge, watching the largest fleet ever assembled gather around the crystal planet. "All ships in position," her captain reported. "The Drachnids have nowhere left to run." Instead of opening fire, Sarah pressed a button on her command console. Her message played across every screen and speaker on the Drachnid homeworld. "This is Admiral Chen of Earth. You invaded our world thinking we were primitive. You tried to enslave us like you enslaved others. Now we stand here, not just with the power to destroy you, but with the choice not to." In his crystal palace, Commander Zextal watched the human fleet with skin turned gray from fear. His mighty empire, which had ruled for 10,000 years, had crumbled in just 3 months. "How?" he whispered. "How did simple humans defeat us so completely?" The answer came from the ships surrounding his world. Each one carried a different story of human ingenuity. They had turned crystal technology against its makers. They had freed enslaved worlds with offers of alliance instead of conquest. They had studied every weakness, every flaw in the empire, and used them all. "Sir," his advisor reported, "the humans are sending ground ships, but they're not carrying weapons." Sarah Chen led the delegation herself, walking through the crystal halls of the Drachnid Palace. Unlike the Drachnids, who wore crystal armor, she wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's new symbol, a planet with breaking chains around it. "Your empire is finished," she told Zextal. "But Earth doesn't want to destroy you. We want to show you a better way." She activated a hologram showing the new alliance Earth had built. Dozens of freed worlds working together, sharing technology and resources. Former slaves now worked as equals with their liberators. "Impossible," Zextal said. "No empire can work without conquest, without control." Sarah smiled. "That's why you lost. You only thought about control. We thought about cooperation. Every world we freed chose to join us because we offered partnership, not slavery. The terms were simple. The Drachnids would free all remaining slave worlds. They would share their technology with the Alliance. In return, Earth would help them build a new society, one based on cooperation instead of conquest." "And if we refuse?" Zextal asked. Sarah's smile faded. "Then we use the sound weapon one last time. Your entire crystal world would shatter. The choice is yours. Adapt or die." In the end, it wasn't really a choice. The Drachnids had spent 10,000 years conquering others. never imagining they would face a species that could turn their own power against them. One by one, the remaining Drachnid leaders stepped forward to sign the peace treaty. Not with crystal ceremonial pens, but with simple earth pencils, a final reminder of how the primitive humans had changed everything. Back on the Defender's Bridge, Sarah watched the sun rise over the Drachnid world. "Send the message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them it's over. The war is won." But it was more than just a victory. Humanity had proved something important. True strength wasn't about having the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. It was about imagination, adaptability, and the wisdom to offer peace even when you had the power to destroy. The galaxy would never be the same. The species that had once been called primitive had shown everyone a new way forward, not through conquest, but through cooperation. Not through crystal weapons, but through human ingenuity. And somewhere in the vast universe, other empires heard the story of Earth's victory and trembled, wondering what other surprises these remarkable humans might have waiting for them.